Brandon Molson.
Wait, are we recording?
Yes, we are, Brandon. Brandon and I got on the phone 45 minutes ago, and we haven't stopped talking about many of different things. So I thought it was time that I just hit record and get this conversation going.
Yeah, we already started talking turkey, deer, fly fishing, the whole racket.
So Brandon and I, we went to Southern Ohio, started the new year in Southern Ohio, and we drove back Monday night. It's about a 5-hour drive, and about 2 hours or so left. Brandon and I got on the topic of turkey hunting, which I don't have much experience with. And Brandon, you fired me up. This conversation has nothing to do with what we're talking about today with turkey hunting, but you fired me up about turkeys, and like, it is insane to me that these turkeys attack decoys.
Well, every time we think of a turkey, I'm sitting here with my arm up in the air like a turkey neck going, gobble, 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 gobble.
Wait, what is it like?
Gobble, 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 gobble. Nice shock call. And, man, shock gobble just gets me hair up on the arms. I mean, hearing that up in the roost or respond back to a hen cluck putt, it's amazing.
Cluck
and
putt.
Then getting you all excited is turkey season right around the corner.
Yes.
Get out there and start scouting.
Yeah, turkey season is around the corner, and I'm really excited and looking forward to that this spring. However,
tag. Your family's got the tag. I
got
the tag. Let's go.
Yeah, can't wait.
In Michigan, we only get one, so some of those other states out there where they're giving it the old weekend pound, stacking them. We get one shot each. So hey, that's enough for me though.
Yeah, it's plenty, but
and bearded only, so Jake's and Tom's.
Gobble 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 gobble.
Or spring, not fall. Yeah, gobble gobble gobble.
Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Justin Smith. I'm with Brandon Molson, and we are Tracks and Sign. And we appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to our gobbles. And as much as I'm excited for the spring, fish run and trout and steelhead and turkey and all that, technically in Michigan and definitely in Ohio, it's still deer season. It's whitetail season still.
Oh yeah, whitetails are certainly on the mind. I'd argue year round. There's so much to do year round, and starting with right when technically the season ends, and that's where we're at right now. Ohio still has 30 days left of archery, but and there's some late season stuff just for deer management purposes down here in southeast Michigan. But for the most part, nobody's out in the woods hunting. But this is the time to capitalize for our 2021 season.
Yes, and just to reiterate,
exciting, if not.
I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
Almost just as exciting as during season.
It really is.
Season. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've never been so excited to like cut trees, do clearing, and plant food for animals before.
Yeah. So what were you thinking for today? We're talking maybe a recap of how the season as a whole went at the different places that we went hunting this call it 2021 and or 2020/21. Talk a little about late season tactics, some of the inventory we've taken or plan to take, and then and prepping for what we're going to do ideas wise and call it habitat management for this upcoming season 21/22.
That sounds like an awesome agenda.
All right.
And just to recap, everyone, so Brandon and I, we both live in Metro Detroit. My father and I own property in northern Michigan, just between Oscoda and East Tawas. Brandon has some incredible public land around him, and then he's also part of a group of guys that have a place down in southern Ohio.
Noble, Morgan County area.
Yeah, beautiful piece of property. So Brandon and I just took a trip, like I was saying. We left on the 1st, and then we just came back this past Monday. And I didn't hunt. It's muzzleloader season down there, but I went with Brandon because, again, I can't think of a better way to start off a new year. Is new area, new territory, and then also I get to. I mean, we had a good time.
Yeah, we did. Left at bright and early, New Year's Day. Drove down, loaded the truck up with a couple ATVs, and solid weekend. Saw a lot.
I mean, the first, we weren't even out of the truck yet, and I think we already 8 deer deep already.
Yeah, we pulled up to my spot, and there was a buck just, like a fork, just kind of looking at us in the woods, came across the road, went to the other side of the property, or to the property next to us. Like, hopefully this is going to be a good. And I told you before, the trips that I went down there and I didn't see deer running across the road. For some reason, they weren't. There wasn't a lot of deer when I was sitting in the stand or around the property. And then whenever I do see deer running in front of my truck or just out in the distance across the road, usually you see a lot of stuff. And this weekend we did.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we saw a lot of deer. I mean, we only had one hunt where we didn't see a single deer.
Yeah, and it was the last one after a coyote. Well, we'll get to it. But
so let's you want to? Well, okay. First off, so let's start with the 2020 season.
Yeah.
Right. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about it?
So, I certainly plan on doing a lot of things the same for if I'm thinking of next season compared to this season. And then there's a few things that I look forward to switching up. And then that's also some tactics, but also when I'd be taking certain things. Like on opening day bow, I went out on public land and got out there early, and about a half hour to last light, saw a nice doe, sat around me for, I think, 10 minutes, stared at me for 5, and then walked around for another 5. And, that whole maybe something's going to come in at like the last minute of light, because she was there literally for, there was like 10 minutes left after she was there. So I was hoping someone might be following her in. That's still too early for, I don't know. So I think if that were to happen to me this year, I should have taken her and just, I didn't see anything all day. And then that would take all pressure off of freezer meat for the rest of the year.
Yep.
At least, that first doe. So I should have done that, and I didn't. And then there were a number of times after that where I probably should have taken doe that were easy layups and didn't. But I think if I do that early on in a bow season on public land, that's great, because then when I'm in a different because then I started hunting up at outside of your property, going down to Ohio, and all the early trips of going down to Ohio, you're like, I'm just not down there to take a doe. Out of state tag, a lot of prep going into huge bucks walking around the property on camera, daylight, evening, the whole thing.
Huge bucks, huge.
Yeah, there's no way. You're thinking about a doe until like you don't have one and it's the last sit of the year. Then you're thinking, well, maybe I should take a doe now and forget what might walk in these last 15 minutes of light. So,
and it's interesting too, because
loved it.
Yeah, it's funny between you and I too, because abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. But then when you get into only a couple days left in what we're able to hunt for the year, it's your mind starts like, oh. Like, I mean, for instance, we were on the way down to Ohio, and our conversation was, okay, like, first brown through, like it's down, and then I don't think we saw any deer. Did we see any deer that first spot?
Like as soon as we got down there and like I literally made a phone call in the woods and then hopped into Tony's stand for the last hour of daylight. That first set?
Yeah, that first set. I don't think we saw a deer, but that, I mean,
No,
we more just wanted to be in the woods.
Yeah, I made a cell phone call right outside the blind to Brian, and then we like
Brian,
yeah, are you hunting down there? Like,
yeah, I think before you made the phone call, you were like, Brian, are you Brian?
Oh yeah, and then I didn't even make a phone call yet. I'm yelling in the woods, and then I'm like, oh, let's go sit here and see if anything walks in for the next hour. And we drove a ATV right up. I mean, that was just to be in the woods. The day before muzzleloader started, I had the crossbow with me, and hey, it is a good spot though. So
yeah, no, I mean, Brandon, there's a lot of spots.
You never know.
Yeah, so then the second hunt, we saw deer, but they were does, and they were there at last light, and we were, Brandon was holding on for the longest time, thinking one of these target bucks were gonna pop up. So it goes back to the whole like taking that pressure off of getting a doe in bow season or even early rifle on public or gun season.
Think about it. At the end of the day, and I think a lot of listeners agree here, deer hunting is awesome. The thrill, the camaraderie, the trips, just everything about hunting whitetail is phenomenal. But the end result is putting deer, putting venison in the freezer.
Yes.
To eat throughout the year, especially when all of a sudden, everything, restaurants and stuff shut down and the shelves are empty. I could care less because I had 100-something pounds of burger and steaks and everything from venison and fish in my freezer. So who cares when that happens? But when it's the last day of season and you don't have a deer in your freezer, that's you're thinking about how this year is going to be a lot different than the year prior. So different mindset, like you said. And right when we got down there, I pulled those cameras, and that was the first time I saw one of the target bucks has been on in daylight, but the main non-typical, like this freak of a buck, he was walking broad daylight, just the upcoming weeks a few times leading up to our hunt there, and then showed himself a few days prior, not too far into nighttime. So
yeah, I mean, this deer's a freak.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I can wrap my hand around. He has like a main beam coming off of him. On one side, he has two main beams coming out of his head, and one of them, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to wrap my hand around, like just the half of it.
It's at what, at least side. I mean, it's not even, it's a big deer. Like the points, it's what, at least a 13, but that's like besides the point. It's just like the thickness of the tines, the body.
Oh, it has to be 4.5, 5 years, like 4.5, 5.5.
Yeah.
I'm not a super great judge when it comes to is it 4 or is it 6, but it's definitely not 3.
Yeah, no, definitely a distinct difference.
Yeah, these things are huge, and he looks like a tank. But I couldn't really tell if there's like his face is. He doesn't look like a super old deer, like walking around with white face and stuff like that. But I think he's in his prime, and he needs to. I don't know. That alone though gets you excited to where if there's doe in front of you at last light, he might be stepping into the scene.
So speaking of stepping into the scene, is it okay that we kind of go into the second night hunt?
Yeah.
Or it would have been the third day. So we're, first off, this is kind of funny. So Brandon and I are sitting in the blind. We just got, what we did is we started off, in Brandon, where was that spot? The north side of the property? That first, where we did a transition walk, a stalk walk?
So it's actually still pretty south. It's like south central side of it. 'Cause remember, it's only a half mile from from the
Oh,
blind.
yeah.
So the north side of the property is about 1.8 miles from my blind, at least to Tony. So it's 1.8, 2 miles away, like the property stretches. So this is like a half mile, maybe a little more from the south edge. We started there. So there's a gas line that runs north and south of the property. And we walk up the gas line and then sit in this little blind that is where the creek bottom and the ravines kind of dump out into on the north side. Or I'm sorry, they start there. And there's pines, and it's a really good deer spot.
Yeah, it's an incredible spot. Yeah.
We were out there dropping some corn at nighttime with headlamps, and just you were surrounded by eyes the night before.
Mind you, we hunted all day, and then the night before we barely slept because all we did we stayed up late talking about whitetail.
Yeah, slept 3 hours and then sat all day.
Yeah, and then so in the night with two little lamps, trying to figure out our surroundings. Is we're tired, we need to eat.
And we're just seeing deer everywhere, so very exciting. And come back the next morning to sit that spot, and then we did like a spot and stalk through the creek bottom, then up the ridge, hoping to see something around there. On the way to my blind, and along the way, pulled up, found a beautiful set of sheds.
Incredible, like,
10
yeah,
point.
Amazing.
Yeah, sweet. That I came home and put on my kitchen table, and I was all excited about it. And my wife's response was, I'm all fired up showing her, and her reaction was, do they have to be sitting on the kitchen table? I didn't even think twice about them going on the kitchen table. I thought they looked beautiful displayed there, but feeling wasn't mutual.
Hey, when that happens.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, so what do we do? So we were walking for an hour and a half. Found a random tree stand down the creek bottom, overlooking a nice scrape with a licking branch, a natural licking branch, like a branch fell down, got caught in between two. I don't think I've ever seen that. I've always seen like people putting them together, or there's branches literally still attached to the tree that deer are scraping under. But this was hanging naturally. It was pretty cool.
It was big.
The scrape?
Yeah, I took it. I mean, You take pictures of that stuff, and pictures rarely ever do justice of the moment, but like you can't even tell. But it was big.
Well, besides that stand that we found and who we thought it belonged to, he doesn't remember putting it down there. I think he has like a ton of stands all over the property, but nobody hunts down there. So, I mean, we saw tons of fresh sign, some old sign, just beat up game runs all over the place, and then that big, beautiful set of sheds. That was pretty cool.
I've never, hands down, the biggest sheds I've ever seen, and then how symmetrical, and they were so close together. It was awesome.
One side was here, and then what, like 5 feet?
Yeah.
If that, something like that. A couple yards, and up the other set, and they were both just stuck into the ground.
And I think if there were any deer around there, we scared them because we were both like, "Oh, look at like."
Oh, fired up.
Yeah, we were fired up. Yeah.
We scared away anything remotely close. So that was pretty much the end of the spot and stock, realistically.
It was worth it.
We got to the top of the ridge, which was a challenge in itself. Walked over to my spot, came in through what I think is some of the deer bedding around there. Walked through the top of the food plot and into my blind, and lo and behold, a couple hours later?
Yeah, like
a couple hours.
Yeah, it was about just under a couple hours. Brandon and I are sitting there, and we're eating lunch, we're hydrating, we're telling stories, and we got to this story where it made us both laugh very loud, very obnoxious. Like, it was just, the story is so funny, and we were on a fishing trip. Anyways, I'm sitting there, and just a few minutes just a few minutes after we were laughing very loudly, I hear this like rush of steps, like very heavy steps coming down this hill off to my right shoulder. And I look, and it's a spike, but the spike on this deer, it was a single spike. It only had one horn. It was probably, I mean, I don't know. It was definitely more than 6 to 8 inches, I'd say, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was probably like I don't know, 10-inch spike, and the other one was broken off.
So we're sitting, so we're sitting there just as we got, done eating, laughing really hard. And I look over my right shoulder, and I see this spike, right? And Brandon's kind of just like looking out behind his food plot. And I don't even think I said it quietly, but I was like, Brandon, look to my right, like pretty much in normal tone.
No, you were like, Brandon, look to my right. Mind you, we're like 15 feet from this deer?
Yeah, like super close. I mean, it was literally right there. And then he just like
staring at us,
slowly turns his head. Yeah, I wanted to ask you this. I don't think he looked into the blind. Did he?
Well,
he had to have known we were there.
Yeah, I don't know if he was staring, but mind you, we're covered up. I mean, like the window has camo burlap over it, so I don't know. Like he was standing there, and then he walked in. But when you said look to my right, like I looked over at a still deer, and I forget if he was staring or if it was just like kind of a one eye was looking. I remember seeing his eye, and then he just walked into the plot, ate up top, hung around for a bit, and then took off. But that was the first time a buck ever came down. So he came down the main entrance, the way that every other time besides that day we enter into my blind, where nothing normally walks down there. Maybe some doe come running down, but that was the first time. So very unexpected.
Yeah, and that deer was on a mission. So Brandon did put down a little doe estrus.
Yeah, doe urine and estrus,
just to like see, like, I mean, you hear,
maybe scare stuff away.
Yeah,
maybe it brings it in. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you something. After all the walking we did and where we came in, and we messed up that back area, from our scent and foot and all, just, I was like, man, I don't know if we're going to see any deer, but that deer came through. And what I mean by on a mission, that deer, from when we saw him, he walked 500 yards plus, because that deer was taken later on that day.
Yeah. So now that I'm thinking about it, we walked into my place, and it was about an hour later, because we ate lunch almost right away, because it was 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're sitting there eating lunch thinking nothing's going to come in for at least a couple more hours. And I mean, we were crunching on cheese and crackers, and and this deer just comes running in hard, and then exited the food plot where we came in.
Yep.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, and then yeah, you're right. I think it was about 4 o'clock. Like, so 2 hours later, he had walked another. He had found his way over to another fellow on our property, who shot him about 5 to, I don't know, 6 maybe 600 yards plus away on the other side, on the east side of the property.
Yeah. So somebody, the gentleman that took that deer hunts with muzzleloader, iron sights, just like you do, Brandon. And the deer was about, from a tree stand, he said about like 40, 50 yards away. Didn't see the horn right away, saw the body, and so he thought it was a doe.
Yeah, saw half the head, and yeah, in the brush, half the head, saw the body, and was like, well, I'm going to take a doe. Shoots it, and then realized it had like a half spike, or a full one spike.
Yeah, we met up with some guys for dinner later on that night, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a deer," and he shows us a picture, and we're like, "No way!"
Yeah, same one.
I mean, because
broken time.
From your experience, Brandon, deer typically like don't that. I mean, 500-600 yards is a pretty long distance.
Yeah.
You know, especially in like a single day or a couple hours for that deer movement.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, that was in just a couple hours moving that far through. I mean, there's a lot of options for deer, where deer to bed and eat and drink, and like I just wouldn't think that they're going out to that area. 600 yards through where he just walked is not open timber. It's thick. Elevation changes, like multiple elevation changes.
Yeah, I mean, so this was my first time, and one of the reasons I was so excited to go with Brandon, this was my very first time hunting in Ohio, and the terrain is so, I mean, it's in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and it is so different than hunting Michigan land, and it's just, like, to reiterate what Brandon's saying, I mean, the elevation change, the different type of timber, it's beautiful, and it is pretty amazing to think that in just a couple short hours how far that deer got.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
so
to go there of all places.
Yeah, I know, right? Seriously. So then we didn't see deer for a couple more hours. So then, Brandon, go ahead. Do you want to take the rest of this story?
Yeah, this is so at this point it's our second to last night.
Yep.
Second to last day. And we've seen a couple little bucks, nothing that we were down there to take, and then a lot of doe. I mean, at this point in the season, easily over 100 deer that at least I've seen, and I'm sure Justin's seen just as many, if not more. And neither of us have a deer down. And I'm thinking, all right, well, I think I'm going to take a doe this evening. If there's one sitting in front of us at last light, taking it. So an hour before last light. When I say last light, like sundown and then a half hour after. So it's about an hour to last light. Three doe enter in the food plot, and then two more come in behind it, and so there's one really mature, like one old doe, white gray face, and then there's another one that's like fairly large. I mean, she was a large doe, nice brown, and then there were three smaller ones. I don't think they were yearlings, but they're a smaller doe, and they were just sitting there and kind of all together, and then split up a little bit and all together, and then it was like for 10 minutes they're doing this, and then all of a sudden they're staring at this part of the food plot. So we're directly across the food plot. They're in the back of it, about 40-45 yards away from us. We're at the south end of the food plot. They're at the north end. They're looking at the side that comes up from the ridge. When I say ridge, there's a creek bottom, and then it comes up about 200 feet, and there's this whole deer run, buck run ridge. And then the food plot's about 25 yards off that. So from there, I've made a couple inroads, and they've created their own too, but into the plot. One goes in front of this thick tree, and then another one goes behind this, like it's like a huge thick bush you can't see through even in wintertime when the green falls. So they're staring at this, and we're hearing a pretty heavy, and I can't say it was this enormous buck, or I didn't see it, Justin didn't see it, but you could hear a real heavy walking deer, what I would say is a buck that is walking slow but heavy and crunching on branches,
making a ton of noise.
Oh yeah, and these five are just staring at it like, what is this thing? And so I'm like, well, here we go. This is it. This is game time. You start getting that, the heart rate you're trying to control, and just getting real fired up that this thing is about to come around into the scene, show himself for the first time. Let's go. And like about to start getting ready with the muzzle loader. You want to get the burlap ready to get pulled up a little bit, and all of a sudden a gunshot goes off in our direction, and it the feeling was like, one, at first it was like, okay, nobody's hit.
Yeah, seriously.
No, for real.
No, yeah, no, for real, yeah.
I went through, it was like, well, because nobody's hunting around us, like anywhere near us well, the closest person was 500-600 yards away, in the other side of the property, and you could barely hear a gunshot coming from where he. So very unexpected. There are trucks that are driving around maybe one every hour, and so there was a truck coming through. But so what happened is, guys from their truck, that ravine I just talked about, goes out a couple hundred yards and then back up to this road, and they shot either down into the ravine or at something that was coming up to the food plot. Either way, they shot in our direction and scared all the deer away that were in front of our area, and then drove away. Yeah. So poachers, trespassers, unbelievable. Never happened to me before, and shook us up pretty good.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I was rattled. I've heard about it. I've even seen other videos about it, but it actually just happened, and we're not exaggerating when they literally shot right in our direction. Like,
oh yeah, because when I pulled the binoculars up, I could see it was a white Dodge Ram, nice looking truck, and it was eye level. But mind you, they can't see us. They had no idea we were up there. But you know what though? They knew that there were multiple trucks at camp, and our camp is on that 400 acres. And so we have a bunch of trails coming into different deer blinds. So they knew we were there. They just didn't know we were. They might not have known, or maybe they didn't care that we were hunting up in that ridge line. Either way, very lucky that round didn't come our way, like literally into the blind. So that was really shocking, and there's feelings of I'm pissed off to all hell. I'm so mad right now. I'm so mad that we just got shot at. I'm so mad that there's that's how some of the local folks, or no, I'm not saying all of them, but one crew in particularly, that's how they roll down there, driving around, shooting out of trucks on people's property while they're hunting it. And then also, like, what did they just shoot at? Would they just kill? Obviously, they weren't shooting at us. They were shooting at some kind of deer down there. But what was it? And was it what was walking into my plot? So all these things are going through my head. Another thing is, like, we got to go talk to these people. We don't have cell phone service. The other crew that's that's hunting north of, like, on our property but far away, like, how are we going to get a hold of them to help us? All these things. So at this point, I remember looking at the clock. There was 47 minutes left to shoot light. I said, let's wait until they're probably going to come back and want to retrieve whatever they just shot. So 20 minutes go by. Lo and behold, Justin says, Brandon, there's a doe in the back of the food plot. I'm like, no way. And so there was, and it was the nice big brown doe that was there. None of the other four didn't come back, and she was back there. She was hungry. So I go, you know what? I'm gonna take this doe, and so start going through the motions, picking up the burlap, getting the muzzle loader hanging outside the window, get an aim, and think I have a good aim, and then all of a sudden Justin's like, "Oh my gosh, I can see!" And then when you hear the truck come
Yeah,
back,
the truck comes back. Yep.
truck comes back.
They had
Door
company
opens.
that time with them too, because they had that other car with them.
Yep. Then they have another car with them, and mind you, like a ATV was driving before this, and there's just a lot going on, and Justin's like, "Oh my gosh, I can literally see their tail light with no binoculars," and I'm like trying to focus on this deer, and I'm gonna shoot anyway. Like whatever, I'm gonna take this doe, and so I take a shot, and muzzle loader, black cloud, big cloud of smoke comes out of it, and I see the deer run to the right into the thicket, not towards the ridge, and then you hear them all hop in their cars and skirt away, and so then I'm thinking, all right, well, I think I have a doe down, which is sweet. Hopefully she crashed not too far away from here. But I'm also now nervous, and we scared those guys away. But now I'm thinking, well, do they think that I just shot at them? And what are they going to do now? Which I didn't think about before taking the shot. So I have no idea what we're going to do now. And 2 hours prior to that, we heard that one gunshot go off, and that was Brian taking that one spike. And so I knew they were going to go retrieve a deer. Somebody close to on our property had a deer. So we were going to meet up with them at some point. And so we're like, well, because of the situation, let's go check if there's blood. And then if there is, let's get back to camp. Let's go get Brian and Stuart and tell them about the poaching situation. And we go jump out, look for blood. There's nothing at where we thought the impact would have been. Man, looked around for an hour and a half and didn't find a drop. So yeah. I obviously shot high. Who knows? Nerves are going. It was 42 yards. I had a clear a clear shot on her, and somehow it shot over. And there was the front of the sight of the like the front part of the optic was pretty loose, but I still don't think that maybe that was off. But at the end of the day, like I think I just shot too high, and it went right over her. So
I mean, I also think because it was interesting. We got your heart starts going, and you take the shot, and we're like, deep breaths, breathe, 1, 2, 3, and you could tell though that there was still like this eerie feeling from what the emotion the poachers caused. Like it was weird. Like we were both like, okay, this awesome, you got a shot, you hopefully a doe, but it was it was kind of like a conflicted, how you felt. Like you could tell it was off because we were still pretty wound up about when those poachers took that shot.
Well, yeah, and then knowing that they were back there, getting out of their trucks, about to go look and retrieve whatever they just shot, and I am aimed, ready to go. I rushed it for sure. I remember even telling you when we were walking out of the blind, I was like, oh my gosh, I usually say like a quick little prayer and take a shot at anything. So, and I was like, I didn't do that. I didn't go through. Like I think I missed it, but naturally, I think if I don't see whatever animal I take aim at go down right in front of me, I think I missed it. So, but there was just a lot of conflicting emotion going on there. So yeah, you're right. Like after I did take a shot, like I was like, well, I took a shot, so I probably hit it, maybe not. But we weren't even like super excited. I was a little scared that these guys were going to come back and think that we shot at them. The whole thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a very unique situation. Emotions wise.
Yeah, something I hope that we. I mean, it could have went way worse. There could have been. I could have hit the deer and wounded her. I could have. There's just a number of things. So I'm glad, and and 99.99% certain that the deer is not wounded.
Yep.
And it was a clean miss.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we looked hard.
Yeah.
In all sorts of different directions. For a considerable amount of yards away from point of impact that we thought was point of impact, and just there was zero, not one trace anywhere. And hitting a doe with a 50 caliber muzzle loader, you're gonna see blood at some point 25 yards from that area. So, and we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much as it's part of the process and everything, it's still, I don't know, it was just a weird situation.
Yeah. So that was my first deer miss.
Yeah.
I've missed a lot of ducks in my time, but that was so that was a bit of a heartbreaker.
So then,
for sure.
So then we were a little hesitant. We were like, okay, are we gonna hunt the next morning? Because we had one more full day left. So,
well, we had just walked around everywhere deer typically come into that area, like everywhere. And so we weren't, where should we hunt the next morning? Probably not there. And so we went down to that spot where we started off in the spot and stock, back down to where we put corn out a couple nights prior. And so we got there early in the morning, and and we heard deer.
oh,
Like we were in the blind already, and there were deer all around us.
Oh yeah.
Right before light.
And a ton of deer walking in.
Oh yeah, all over. You could hear them. You hear them eating. You could everything. And then at light, didn't see anything. Probably, I mean, within the first hour, did those two doe walk in?
Yep. Yeah, the two doe. Yeah, off to our left side.
Maybe an hour or two into it. Two doe walk in, and I was gonna take a doe. It was the last day. If whatever walked in, I was taking it. And they were just those could have been yearlings. Like those were some small doe. And then we were just kind of watching them, seeing what they were doing. They were in front of us for a good amount of time, and then all of a sudden we hear some blowing coming from the background, and that was probably the bigger doe. And I couldn't see her, and you could see where then the two doe like slowly walked off into the whatever doe's blowing direction, and they were hanging out there still for a while, out of my sight, but you could see them. And then, and you said that the doe wasn't blowing at our direction, so I wonder what they were seeing. And then all of a sudden, nothing was in front of us.
It was quiet.
Yeah, Justin's like, gosh, it's super quiet. I mean, before that, there's squirrels jumping all over the place. There's cardinals. There's blue jays. I mean, it's action packed with, and then deer right there. Now, like a deer blows and everything's just quiet. So I'm like, I wonder if they saw a predator or something like that. Not even a minute later, we both say, "Oh, there's a deer!" Like in the distance. Pull up binoculars, and it's a coyote, low and on the prowl, like kind of navigating in the direction of the deer. So
yeah, of where that doe was blowing.
Yeah, needless to say, we didn't see a single thing for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that evening sit. So we got out in the around lunchtime. Brandon took me around, saw some parts of the property I've yet to see, which I haven't even barely seen most of it. Still, incredible property. And then we went back for the afternoon, and that was the only sit where we didn't see a deer the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, and then we went home.
Yeah,
and that was it.
I've never hunted so much in my life and never gotten a deer.
Yeah, so neither of us are going to hunt anymore.
Yeah, this is actually our farewell last podcast.
No, I mean so you know that was a bummer way to end it, but all in all, it was a solid trip. I learned a ton this season. I had the chance to do some some mobile hunting, some tree stand hunting, some climber hunting, some ground blind, some shooter shack, bunch of different properties, several different public land spots, two different private spots. It was a great season, and learned a lot about deer movement and how they transition, like their behavioral patterns transition. And then through the seasons here in Michigan and Ohio, going from early bow when they're still green on the trees to fall and you can hear you can hear them crashing in, walking through the leaves all loud, to rifle season. Now they're all sketched out, or when bucks are going from their summer activity and bachelor groups to nocturnal patterns to October lull and then the rut, pre-rut, rut, and post-rut. It's just all the different components that go into how you have to adjust your strategy, even in the short few months there. Gets you thinking a lot about like what you need to do to be a better hunter next season. And I think anything I do or anything I've done, I don't think there's like learning's ever finished. There's always something to learn. So that's all these components gets me excited, frustrated while you're in them, but excited that there's just so much that you can do. And you don't need it. I'm not saying change everything, but there's just things that I would certainly do differently this coming year, or what that I will do differently, and then also adjustments or modifications I want to make to some of the areas that I hunt to hopefully be in a better position next year. What do you think?
I mean, to your point where you're talking about, so Brandon, you and I have known each other for quite a few years now, and
yeah,
it's really cool the transition and the development of our friendship. And we've been talking about fishing. We've fished together. We hunt together multiple different types of species, and this is technically your second year deer hunting. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see you've immersed yourself in the sport and what you're learning and the people you're meeting along the way and the different techniques or tactics that you're picking up from people, and not only just the content that you're taking in, but like you're getting out there a lot. Like the stuff that you're doing, like there are people that have hunted for years and have not been able to do what you've been doing the last 2 seasons alone. So it's really cool. I'm excited to be part of it. It was a great experience down there in Ohio with you, and I also learned a lot. It was great for me to get outside of my normalcy, whitetail hunting in Michigan, and just it was an awesome experience, and I cannot wait to go back.
Yeah. No, thanks for getting down there with me.
Yeah, dude.
I can't wait. So Justin's Justin's been hunting whitetail for quite some time, and 20 years, something like that.
Yeah, long time.
Long time. So enough years to know and see many different scenarios happen in front of him. And so him and his family decided that they're going to go up to the property between, season just ended. And so between now and the beginning of next season and work every Wednesday. They're dedicating Wednesdays to doing whatever work they need to get done to the camp up there, or the property they have in northern Michigan. And so I'm looking forward to getting up there and putting in a considerable amount of time helping where I can with that. But let's take a few minutes and talk. Do you want to recap? You want to recap your season and then transition into some of the changes you're going to be making in the property?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll do a quick recap here. So made a comment. I've never hunted so many sits and never have, harvested a deer before. But one of my main goals this season was, so my girlfriend, we've been dating for quite a few years now. Actually, it'll be 4 years coming up here pretty soon. And my goal was to make sure she got a deer down. And so that happened. She took her first deer. It was a beautiful first deer. It was a doe. And so even though I didn't get, my own meat in the freezer, the fact that she was able to experience what, all of us hunters, just one of the reasons why we're in the woods, not only to fill the freezers, but just the experience, the feeling, the heart pounding, all that. Like, she got to experience that. And it was an awesome, awesome experience. It was amazing. So as much as I'm like frustrated and also excited because I learned a lot, for next year, but the season was a success for me. She got her deer and she got to experience what I love about whitetail hunting. So it was amazing. Yeah, I saw a lot of deer this year too. It was, bow season, I saw a lot of deer, a lot of 6s, some 4s, couple of 8s, but there was a lot of deer. So where I sat this year was in the northwest corner of our property, and we're bordered up against, just about 400 acres of federal land. And I saw a lot of deer activity, and I could never get them to come in, especially during bow season. And I typically hunt with a compound. Even with a crossbow, I wouldn't have really had a shot because it was going into some down trees, some thicker brush, and it just wasn't comfortable, especially with a compound. And then gun season came around. Lauren got her deer, and I was kind of being patient. I'm chasing. There was two deer that I were after that were, my target bucks, and they just never showed themselves during gun season. So I was never able to get a shot off. And then there wasn't that much activity after Lauren's deer back in our corner. And one of the things, Brandon's been coming up there several times this year, and it's been great not only to have him come up and hunt, but also get his opinion on what we could possibly do to, get more deer in. Now, my dad and I have had this property now for 7 years, and when we first started this property, we didn't hunt it for the first 2 years. We did all land management, habitat management, and we had some incredible deer on the property, 12 points, a bunch of 10s, really nice 8s. I mean, it was there. And then over the last, I would say 2-3 years, we've been doing a ton of work to the property, and we kind of taken a back seat on the vegetation and the food plots. And I think what we're seeing now is the lack of attention towards those important aspects of whitetail deer hunting. We're not seeing the deer that we're used to. So this year, our main focus, besides we're getting a cabin done, but so there's not going to be a ton of work on the property, but the work that is going to be done is going to be geared towards, creating funnels, creating food plots, creating at least a secondary source of food for those deers that are transitioning from bedding to finding primary sources of food that they'll stop in, kind of for like a snack. So we've already started around my dad's blind. So he hunts about a quarter mile away from me on the more towards like the southeast side of the property. And we're starting to clear. He has a really nice deer blind back there, some awesome transitions from swamp and marsh area, pines, and then just some thick brush. So we're doing a bunch of clearing over there. We're expanding a food plot, which we planted a little late last year, so it never really got to its prime. So we're doing a bunch of clearing, a bunch of planting over there, and then back by me, I'm on the northwest corner. And there's some really nice marsh. So directly north of me is actually where Brandon was hunting on public, and the transitions are incredible. So you have like your oaks, you have your thick pines, you have your marsh, and then where I'm at, we have a little bit of the large timbers, your oaks, and then we have pines, and then some really thick brush. And I'm still, Brandon's gave me his opinion and suggestions, and there is this area that I want to clear, but I'm going to take kind of a step back and really make sure that, my plan is is what I really want. I think there's so many different things out there when it comes to information about, getting the deer, funneling the deer in, creating a place for them to come in and eat, but it's not necessarily the primary food source. There's so much to it. So I'm still on the fence about what I'm going to do, but we're definitely doing clearing and food plots as our number one priority this year.
Yeah. Where I hunt back there, it's like on an edge of pines and marshline, and then across the marsh is another like pine area, and then it kind of leads back in the marsh. And that pine area that I'm talking about goes, I'm on the edge of pines, and then it goes marsh, and then this pine area that I'm talking about is kind of like a finger going out into the marsh. And then on the other side of that is like marsh, thick, then oak, and that's where, and then Justin's property's right there. And I don't know how many hundreds of yards we're away, but if I were to take a shot, you'd know, and vice versa. But what I've seen throughout the season are deer either walking to my left, where actually I come in from, and they're walking up this pine line from the marsh, or they're walking and they go behind me, or I'm looking out in front and they're walking around the marsh area through that pine line, down that pine finger, out probably towards Justin, because it's funny, we'll talk about when we saw deer when we're both sitting, and it's minutes away, so I suspect a number of times we're seeing either the same deer or some like maybe 4 of them are together and 1 or 2 of them broke off and kind of suck. So we just need to figure out a way where we can corral them onto your property there without manipulating state land, because you're not allowed to do that, but attract them in to get in front of you and then spend some time on that property with some added food, there's enough cover. There's plenty of cover.
Oh yeah.
But with some food but still feel safe. So making it kind of some turns and like almost like a zigzag food plot, or what I'm calling a food plot. It's like a funnel food plot. Call it 10 feet wide, and just have some late season stuff in there. So there's plenty to eat during the summer and plenty to eat early season, but I think it dries up and they're not really interested when it comes time to, gun season, post rut, and then into the later season. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. Yeah. And you guys, I could spend all day talking about what I want to do with this property. And I'm really excited, Brandon, for you to, come up there and help, do the man work. And then, but just your feedback's going to be really appreciated. I think, your knowledge of just, you know a lot in a very short amount of time. And it's awesome. And I'm excited to learn, I'm excited to work. And I literally cannot wait for opening day bow season already.
Oh, I know. Whitetail's already in the
mind. And then the cool thing is too, is there's so many other, things we're going to do between now, hunting wise, between now and then, but it's just like, I can't wait for deer season again.
So you're going to take deer inventory?
Yeah. So
what made it?
Yeah. So next week, I'm going to pull the cards and do an inventory.
Cool.
Just, the holidays. And then we went on our trip. It's been a couple weeks since we made it up there last. So I put up some cameras and we're going to take a look, because every time we pull cameras, there's many different deer. There's still my target bucks. One of them's still on there. So they survived, hopefully. Just a lot of work to do. A lot of fun work too. It's, it's fun. I enjoy it. As do you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think, I'll consider I don't have any cameras on the Ohio property right now, but when we went back down there and pulled them on January 1st, that was good enough inventory for me for what made it through November, December, and the first couple of days of January. And then we had a trail cam going the whole time on the north side of the property, which showed 100 deer.
Oh, they were there for
yeah,
it was nuts.
It was unbelievable. They ate that stuff down to the dirt in 2 days.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And everyone listening, we're being a little hush hush about it, but the deer that Brandon are seeing on his camera, like there are people that hunt their whole lives and don't see these types of deer. It's exciting. It makes you lose sleep. It makes you just want to quit your life and just figure out how to get those deer right in front of you.
Well, when I pulled those cameras, so the last time I was down there was the beginning of rifle season, which is the first week of December. I think it was actually November 30th or 31st or whatever. It was the last day of November, I think, this year down there. And that was the last time I had a camera there. So I set a camera, and then we got back down there on January 1st. And in that time frame, there were huge bucks walking around just my plot there, and it was refreshing to see my two target bucks. Somehow they're both dominant deer. They're huge, and they're walking around regularly, right in my plot. So
and during the daylight, this time usually at nighttime they're back to their more natural like habits, and they're just hanging out.
I've never seen that non-typical during the day.
Yeah.
Obviously it walks around during the day, but it's never been there in front of my camera multiple times during the day, and it was throughout November. Throughout December. So, super excited that they made it. Hopefully that continues even with, the riffraff going on around down there. But I'm really excited. The things that I'm going to change down there is I'm going to open up the back of that plot a little bit to create a funnel down from the gas line pines into the food plot, and then so I think it's the food plot I'm talking about is not huge. It's very small, less than 10,000 square feet, but it's just in a very unique spot, and it's a pass through. So they'll hang out there for 45 minutes eating, but a lot of times they're just passing through there, munching a little bit, and continuing their journey. So create a little more funnels that'll be predictable where they're coming from. And then I'm going to do a second location so I can play the wind a little better this year. And because it kind of swirls right there on windy days, but if it's a distinct north, south, east, or west, something like that, or if it changes, or I'm going to do like a morning spot and an evening spot. So there's a few spots that are further into the property that still have good access walking up the gas line, but just I'd be positioned facing either south or facing east. Just one or two more stands I'm going to hang to play the wind strategically for next year. Still on transition edges and things like that. So real excited to get working there.
Well, we're not going to get a lot of work sitting on these microphones, so we better get working.
Yeah, well, now we're talking about getting out there, scouting, and looking for some turkey. So that's all I got, Justin. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. A lot of work to do, a lot of exciting things we have coming up. I mean, we have what do we have? We're going to do some shed hunting. We're going to look for some tracks and sign. We got turkey hunting. We got spring trout run. We got a lot of things going on. So Brandon and I are going to try. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
Some steelhead going on right now.
Steelhead.
Walleye coming up. The walleye.
Yeah, Detroit River. Ooh.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for that. Yeah, a lot of things we're going to be doing. So Brandon and I are going to try to do at least 2 podcasts a week. We're going to invite guests on because obviously there's a lot of people out there that know a lot more than we do, and we want to talk to those people. So
yep.
if you're listening to this and you think there's value in us having a conversation, please reach out to us. We would love to connect. Please be sure to follow us on our social media at Tracks and Sign. And as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your day and listening, and we hope that you find value in it. And we look forward to talking again soon.
Be safe, shoot straight. Till next time.
Till next time. Brandon, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Justin.
All right. Cheers, guys.